I'd like to continue the questioning that Senator Shaheen started. General Challenger, with the U.S. and NATO's departure, human rights groups, non-governmental organizations, schools, and business are left trying to figure out contingency plans for female employees, for female students, should the Taliban return to power by force or through an agreement with the Afghan government. Considering the Taliban is already restricting the human rights of women in the territories they control, what is the U.S. doing to ensure peace negotiations result in a deal that protects women throughout the country, particularly after the withdrawal?
Senator, we continue to support the ANDSF and intend to do so going forward, even as we retrograde from Afghanistan. We also continue to work with our coalition allies and partners to facilitate diplomatic pressure that can be put on against the Taliban to work out a peaceful agreement, negotiations with Giroa, such that women's rights, girls' rights, et cetera, are protected.
Mr. Helvey, over the last 2 decades, the United States has spent more than $780 million to promote women's rights and gender equality in Afghanistan, and the efforts have yielded mixed results. What kinds and amounts of funding should we expect in the future? How will funding be implemented given the security situation after troop withdrawals? And second, Afghan women have pointed to the vocal support by the United States and other international actors as key factors to advancing rights and participation in the public sphere. What will the U.S. do to continue to advance women's rights and gender equality?
Senator, thank you for that question, and you're right to point out we have spent resources to promote the rights of women and girls and other minorities in Afghanistan as part of our policy and approach there. I don't want to get ahead of the president's budget in terms of what types of future funding would be requested or required. But with respect to in response to this previous question to Senator Shaheen, ASIF does have specific requirements for promoting women in the Afghan Defense and Security Forces, and our intent would be that would continue. We'd also continue working with our state and USAID and coalition partners in providing the type of diplomatic support and pressure, pressure on the Taliban, because I think fundamentally the best way to protect the rights of women, girls, and minorities in Afghanistan is to realize a negotiated, peaceful settlement and outcome to the war that's been in Afghanistan for the better part of 40 years.
I have some counterterrorism questions and assessments of Taliban strengths that I will ask in closed session. But let me just ask one more question of General Challenger before my time expires. What's your assessment of the security of the U.S. Embassy in Kabul? And what is your assessment of how the security situation in Afghanistan after the withdrawal of troops will affect the ability to conduct diplomatic and other operations?
I think our diplomatic facilities in Kabul remain secure, and planning is ongoing currently to ensure that remains the case as we continue to conduct our retrograde. And then any diplomatic security presence that remains, we will want to ensure has the appropriate security force to protect our diplomats and their important mission.
And then can you please, I know you requested to answer Senator Shaheen's question in closed session, but can you give us your general assessment of the likelihood of Afghanistan falling under Taliban control? And if it does not fall completely, the likelihood of central government only having control of Kabul, and what effect that will have on the Afghan people and our ability to fight terrorism? And perhaps maybe whether a peace or power sharing agreement between the Taliban and the Afghan government could prevent a Taliban takeover.
I will acknowledge the range of potential outcomes in the months as we go forward, everything from a Taliban takeover to ANDSF being successful in defending against the Taliban, and Giroa maintaining its ability to effectively govern. and everything in between. But I will say that the ANDSF is they're a capable force. They have capable ground, air, and special operations forces. And here very recently, they've effectively both defended against Taliban attacks as well as gone on the offensive to disrupt Taliban activities.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. Now let me recognize